Welcome to the politically incorrect guide to being a grown-up. You know, when you're small and you have these ideas about like what life will be like as a grown-up, like you think, oh, it's all going to be great and I'll have a fantastic job and I'll make lots of money and you'll be really happy and powerful and successful. And then you get to actually be a grown-up and you think, it didn't quite work out exactly how I had it planned, really. Especially the sort of rich and powerful and sort of happy part. And like, if you have children, they suck all of your dreams and most of all that stuff just gone. So all of those dreams and hopes that you had for yourself, they get sucked away completely. And then you think, well, how on earth am I going to make this work, really? So we set out on a bit of a journey to investigate being a grown-up, looking for anything that would make more sense of life, make life easier, or make us happier. Happiness, relationships, work, money, family, religion, and the others. Dating strategies, cosmetic surgery, ghost hunting, and why middle-aged men buy sports cars. I made myself do things I hadn't done before. I talked to all kinds of people, politicians, Buddhist monks and millionaires. I went up mountains, down caves and looked on the internet for answers. My basic premise has always been that one dominating truth about adult existence.
We're all crazy!
First, let's get some perspective on our concerns. Next time you're lying in bed worrying about how to pay this month's bills or that funny spot on the back of your neck, take a moment to think about how unlikely your own existence is. Let's crunch the numbers. 13 billion years ago, there was a big bang. The moment everything in our entire universe was created. All 500 billion galaxies, the estimated 400 billion stars in our own Milky Way, the 8 planets of our solar system, including the Earth, and the 1.4 million identified species we share her with. British mathematician Roger Penrose spent a lot of time thinking about this. After taking into account all the variables since the Big Bang, he calculated the odds of our existence at 10 to the power of 10 million to 1 against. That's a 10 followed by trillions upon trillions of zeros, a number so big, in fact, there isn't even a word to describe it. So when life's getting to you, just remind yourself that you've already beaten staggeringly overwhelming odds just to be here. You're a winner. We all are.
Janine? Love?
Tonight's episode is on that most universal theme, the search for happiness. Almost everyone seems to have weighed in on the subject. Buddha was predictably sagacious.
Happiness comes when your work and words are of benefit to yourself and others.
Life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness is one of the most famous phrases in the United States Declaration of Independence. Although, ironically, stats show that your average American today is considerably less happy than his founding fathers. Could it be that all this searching for happiness has only served to make us even more dissatisfied? So we've all done that thing where you get a new kitchen, because you look at your old kitchen and you go, oh, this kitchen makes me so unhappy. I need a new kitchen. Finally, they put the kitchen in, but then there's always one bit that they can't do, or it's brave, they go, oh, then you've got to survive without a bench top or your splashback or whatever. And then they bring it in, they put the splashback in, they put it up, and you go, oh, that's brilliant. And you go, oh, it's great. And you say, wee mark. I say, oh, it's a wee mark. Oh. And then you start noticing all the wee marks and the manky stuff that's wrong, so you have to stand back and think, right. And even if you stop noticing that, you think, like for a week or so, you go and you think, wow, that's great, new kitchen, brilliant. And then it just becomes like the kitchen. And then you think, maybe we could do the bathroom. Yeah, let's do the bathroom. Yeah. Because I have to go to the toilet. It just makes me feel depressed. We'll get a new toilet. We get, you know. We kind of have this idea that happiness is this destination. That basically, if we just get past all this mountain of crap, that on the other side of it, Once we finally get there, you know, we get to that place, this idea that happiness is a destination, we'll be happy. And I think sometimes it's easy to sort of teach kids that, and for kids to get this idea that it's about destinations. You're supposed to study hard in school and then do this and get a good job, and then you get a good job and work hard at your job and blah, blah, blah. And like finally you'll get to some destination or some point where you're happy, but it doesn't always work out that way, because often you get there and it's great for a moment or two, but then you've still got to go and get milk, you know, you've still got to get toilet paper, and the life just comes back in and squashes you again. So how do you go about being happy? Well, I thought a good place to start might be to find someone who was happy. If possible, certifiably, outstandingly happy, and ask them what the secret was. So what we did is we got on the internet, we Googled happiest man on earth, right? We thought there must be one. Turns out there is. Matthew Ricard. He's the Dalai Lama's French translator. We arranged to interview him through Skype. His assistant said, whatever you do, don't ask him what it feels like to be the happiest man on earth, because it really annoys him. Matthew, how would you define happiness?
I think we need to distinguish what it's not, which is sometimes we confuse it with the pursuit of endless succession of pleasurable experiences, which is more like a recipe for exhaustion than happiness. So I rather would like to pursue happiness as a way of being, that comes with not just one thing, but it's actually a cluster of qualities, which is like basically altruistic love, compassion, inner strength, inner freedom, and freedom that means from the afflictive emotions and mental states, you know, relative freedom from animosity.
So do you think the West's obsession with self and, you know, the self-help industry's obsession with self, is that part of the problem?
Because we have been sort of eager to improve so much our outer condition, which is of course natural and understandable and desirable. But we went a little bit too far, putting all our hopes and fears outside ourselves. Our control of the world is at best limited, temporary, and sometimes illusory. You know, the universe is not a mail-order catalogue for our desires and our fancies.
I don't know if you can see it there, but in the back, there's an old grey-haired lady. That's his mum.
Maman, fais attention parce que le bruit, ça passe dans l'enregistrement.
So all the way through the interview, there's sort of this clinking and clanking of his mum in the kitchen doing the dishes, and occasionally he'd sit there and go, Mama, television, and she'd go, oh, very sorry. And she would... But then about, like, literally, always about 30 seconds later, she'd go like... I think one of the most interesting points that Matthew made was the difference between real happiness and temporary sensations of feeling good, like we might get from eating an ice cream or shopping or watching telly. They're experiences or emotions which come and go, but they aren't real happiness. I felt I had a handle on what happiness wasn't, but I wasn't much closer to finding out what happiness was.
I suppose feeling content with yourself, having a job that you enjoy, having people in your life that are fun and that you enjoy spending time with.
I don't think there is real happiness as such. It's just feeling good.
Bottle of scotch, little bit of Nicky, and a cute pair of underwear. Mine or his, doesn't matter.
I'm actually wearing her underwear at the moment.
Yeah, he's got my tea bags on.
Money can buy you lots of stuff. Luxury yachts and expensive cars, for example. But can it buy you happiness?
That's a lot of highfalutin economics talk.
Oh, no, it's not. It's quite simple.
I wanted to find out, so I decided to talk to someone with loads of money. For some reason, Bernie Madoff wasn't returning my phone calls, so I arranged to have a chat with millionaire Gareth Morgan. These days, Gareth is seriously well off and easily able to indulge his passion for motorcycles. But it wasn't always like that. When he first had a family, they were dirt poor.
We lived in a bus for 3 years, and we hardly had anything, but they were some of the happiest years. And I think they sort of set us up. We only moved out of the bus once we'd had the third child. But being able to live like that, on the smell of an oily rag, you realise that you actually don't need much. And so that sort of helped me. So instead of aiming for the sky, you know, in terms of I've got to have, there's no such thing as too much money. I realised that actually it's the opposite. If you can live within your means, it's unbelievable how happy you can be compared to. So I know people, for example, with, you know, $1 million houses, but, you know, $1 million debt. That's misery.
So you've gone from essentially kind of the not having much money at all,
Yeah, well,
to
those
having
days, nothing.
quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
In terms of your,
ridiculous.
In terms of your happiness along the way, is it like what impact has the money had on the happiness along the way?
I don't think any. I think I'm as happy today as I was back in those bus days, easily.
And the science seems to bear Gareth out. Research shows that once you've got sufficient income to cover your basic needs, having more money doesn't make you any happier. In fact, sometimes the reverse. After chatting with Matthew and Gareth, I was pumped, in a kind of a spiritual one with the universe kind of way. I was ready to cast aside materialism and downsize my needs. But then the next minute, the producer rang and said we've arranged for you to borrow an Aston Martin. The crew, bless them, the production team, decided that we should actually test this out, and so we borrowed an Aston Martin for the day. I'm not a car person. I've never have been. It's not really my thing. As soon as that car started, it was the most beautiful sound that I've ever heard. The Aston Martin is the pinnacle of human creation. It was fantastic. The car was beautiful. It made me outrageously happy, which surprised me because I've always had the view that things can't make you happy, but it really did. And then we had to give the Aston back and I had to drive home on my manky old Nissan. With bits of Lego and slaters and it caused me quite some quandary. Like, for a number of days, I was quite upset because this thing costs about, I think it's about $375,000, right, for this car. I've always said to myself, if I had an abundance of cash, if I had that much money, I could not conscience spending that on a car, what with all those starving little children in Africa. I would buy myself a nicer Nissan than the one that I have, for sure. And then I should give the rest to those little children in Africa. As I was driving my Aston around, I thought, well, I mean, there's degrees of starving, isn't there? I mean, you know, and isn't it good for them to have, like, an aspirational goal? So could I not send them, like, a picture of me in my Aston so they'd have something to strive for, you know? My 8-year-old came up with a solution. I said, I'd love to get an Aston Martin, but then we'd have to sell the house and use all that money to buy the Aston Martin, and then we'd have to live under a bridge. He went, oh, that'd be all right. We went to see this Buddhist nun who was lovely, and I said, as amongst the many things that I talked to her about, I said, I have this Aston Martin problem because I didn't think things could make you happy, and then I drove one, and it was lovely, and it made me really, really happy, and now I'm driving my Nissan, and it makes me very sad. And I feel like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I go, my precious, my precious. I find myself outside just licking the gate. Come to me. It hurts me on the inside. I miss it so much. And she said this thing. She said, Buddha's got no issue with Aston Martins. And I thought, oh, thank God. The Buddhist I took my Aston Martin problem to was Jang Chubb. I asked her about my issue with materialism.
I think that people have been captivated by believing that what is worthwhile and what creates happiness is based on external phenomenon. You know, if I get a better car, if I have a better house. You know, for 10 years I've been married to a meat eater. Now I want a quiche eater. You know, all of those things, as people change their perception, they also change their goal orientation. And I think what's happened, maybe a little bit more so now, is that people's orientation is geared to the collectible items. You know, feeling really good and having things that offer you pleasure. You know, in Buddhism we say one should not be attached to poverty, but one should not be attached to wealth. So having the Aston Martin and gaining a tremendous amount of contentment from it is not the problem. But believing that your contentment is due to the Aston Martin and then not wanting to part with the Aston Martin or having the kids draw on the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin in itself doesn't say love me. It just is an Aston Martin, isn't it? It's you that decide what you want from it.
I was just relieved that there's nothing wrong with falling in love with an Aston Martin. Happiness isn't external, it's internal, and scientists have found the part of the brain involved. The left prefrontal cortex lights up when people are feeling good. Research also shows that 50% of our experience of happiness is actually genetic. Some of us just seem to be born happy. 10 to 20% is due to circumstances, but a whopping 30 to 40% is due to the way we think. Which means we can significantly increase our happiness by changing our attitude. We can actually choose to be happy. But if you're going to start, the sooner the better. Happiness is a habit. So seize the day before you run out of time.
Hello, Larry.
Hi, Jack.
Jack? But you did? You can say it, Larry. We are family. Calm down, Larry. I'm not going to hurt you.
What do you want?
I just wanted to offer you a little wisdom from beyond the grave.
Oh, no need. I'm good.
Life's short, Larry. Gone by in a flash. Oh, what was that, my life? Where'd it go? Don't waste it stressing over the little things.
Oh, was that the time? Oh, I'm going to hit the hay. Well, thanks for dropping by.
You only get one shot at it, Larry. Don't muck it up.
I won't.
Ha! Got a fright then, didn't you? Bloody girl's blouse.
Janine! What? Jack.
What about him?
He was here.
You would think that one of the things that keeps us from being happy is the certain knowledge that we'll all die. Not necessarily. According to a recent study, volunteers asked to consider their own mortality actually felt happier, not sadder. It seems that thinking about the big picture is good for our mood. Getting away from our own concerns and doing things for other people also seems to be good for us. Like, if you do nice stuff for other people, you feel happy. And if you think about your life, those times when you've actually just done some selfless, nice thing for someone else, it just feels nice. It just does. It feels nicer than, and in a different way, than when you get your flash new car, or you knew this, or you knew that. Like, those acts of kindness for other people, they do feel quite nice. The problem is that for most of us, it's quite hard to sort of do that on an everyday basis in our life. But it's interesting to know that good deeds do make you feel better. Deliberately focusing your attention on the here and now is called mindfulness. It's a meditative art that's been practiced in one form or another by both Eastern and Western religions for centuries as a way to find inner peace. Our Buddhist friend Jang Chub had an interesting way of talking about it. She said, "No one ever drinks a cup of tea." I thought, well, they sell a lot of tea at the supermarket, so someone's doing something with it, aren't they? And what she said was, well, what I mean is that no one ever just drinks a cup of tea. Like, people drink a cup of tea, but they're always thinking about something that's just happened or something that's going to happen, worrying about this, worrying about that, and we're never just still and present in the moment. And if you think about your life, like times when you've actually felt quite content and quite happy, it's not when you're spinning about something. It'll be, I would imagine, sometime where it's quite kind of still and quiet and you're just in the moment. It might be watching your kids play, or obviously that's not all the time, but you have occasional rare moments of watching them play where it is quite lovely. Or it might be on a beach or walking through a forest, or it might just be sitting at home or looking at a painting or something. But it's just that experience of actually just being right there in the moment, not doing anything else, that feels quite nice. And in our sort of busy world, we often don't do that. You know, we're thinking about the drains that are blocked and we've got to get that done and this is done and, you know, blah-de-blah-de-blah. So we're constantly sort of polluting the moment. This stuff actually does work. Mindfulness practices are now being adopted by modern psychologists to help treat a variety of mental and physical conditions. As well as making you happier and less stressed, there's evidence that it also helps with learning and memory. And MRI scans have shown distinct changes in the brains of test subjects before and after mindfulness meditation. But you don't have to sit cross-legged wearing an orange bedspread. Any activity that helps to focus the mind on the here and now can help you reach the required meditative state. But don't expect to be happy all the time.
I think it would be annoying to have someone around you that was happy all the time.
I know.
That would get on my nerves.
I know, just imagine if you had a really crap day and you see this hyperactive person going, yeah!
My theory on happiness is that how much happiness you can have depends on the highs and lows.
Yeah, you have to have your ups and downs to appreciate it, don't you?
Yeah, you just can't be happy all the time. I mean, everyone would think you're a nut job.
So in summary, what have I learned? You can't avoid life's ups and downs, but remember, nice things are okay, but they're just things. Money doesn't make you happy, but living beyond your means will certainly make you miserable. Doing things for other people will make you feel better than doing things for yourself. If you can, try a bit of mindfulness. But be warned. There is no quick way to being happy. Like, there's no 30-second abs of happiness. We all like to think there is, but there ain't. You know, like, that's not the little machine that makes your bottom wiggle and makes you happy. Ultimately, what it's about, I think, is just about relaxing. It's having a cup of tea, really. That's it. So good night, good luck, enjoy the ride as much as you possibly can.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.